We often tend to have a look at what's going on in the agricultural sector, especially when it comes to Brexit, because farmers ultimately have been very much affected by Brexit. Remember, the promises that they were given to by the Brexiteers were that, hey, if you do Brexit, then your main market, which is Europe, you can still trade into. And oh, yes, all those subsidies that you currently get from the EU, don't worry, we'll replace them. We'll replace them. You won't lose a single penny. Of course, if you've been following along with our videos on this topic, you know that the new ELM system that is meant to replace these agricultural subsidies, not only is it not what farmers wanted, they have expressly come out and said this is going to negatively affect certainly small scale farmers. It's only really going to help farmers that have a large sort of acreage that they can sort of take advantage of, because these small farmers, if they do these types of stuff to sort of rewild sort of fields and sort of areas, well, at that point, they're no longer farmers. So, I say what there was a lot of complaints and upset by British farmers about sort of the agriculture subsidies that they used to get from Europe. But I'll tell you what, I think many farmers would gladly welcome the return of those agricultural subsidies, be they UK basically copy and pasted versions of them, or even, like you say, trying to return to the agricultural, common agricultural policy of the EU. And bear in mind, very much needing those subsidies replaced because of how much the French subsidized their farmers. let's not forget why those agricultural subsidies existed in the first place. Yeah, one of the few things that Margaret Thatcher actually did for UK agriculture. Like I say, bravo for her for doing at least something good. But hey, there you go. And of course, being a Northern, I feel as if I'm not lucky that I'm not bursting into flame, admitting the fact that Margaret Thatcher actually did something good for a group of people. I know, shocking, but there you go. So yeah, Brexit not helping farmers at all, and the UK government doesn't even have a single clue how it really wants to help them. And you can see why they are losing the farming vote. They are massively losing the farming vote, massively so. And we've seen this escalate over the past couple of years of farmers turning off, the the sort of agricultural industry because of the Conservatives, and they've stopped going to things like the National Farmers Union Conference because they don't consider it a safe space anymore. You had Theresa Coffey, who went to the big sort of agricultural land management conference. Again, what was meant to be a safe space, and she got booed. So when even the agricultural land management conference is no longer a safe space, it just shows you that this once very staunch support that they had for British farmers has evaporated. And it's not just the fact that they are completely not supporting the farming industry, but the fact that they're engaging in these trade deals, which are also going to massively affect the UK farming, because we've always said it. Okay, guys, you want to do all these trade deals, which brings in all these cheap food. Well, what does this then mean for British producers? There's it's unbelievable every single time this happens. But there you have it. So, what new trials and tribulations are farmers now facing, or specifically growers of maize in this case? Well, for to give you the short version of it, essentially, if the UK government doesn't authorize the EU treatment of the new seed that the maize farmers are going to use to plant next year's crop, then essentially next year's maize crop, or the 2024 crop of maize, is pretty much rendered useless and unsellable, not only here in the UK, but in the EU. So let's go find out what kind of disaster you can see what we are facing on this. But before we do that, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And of course, as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help support the channel. And of course, remember there's the Pony Club down below as well. So let's crack on with this. So this comes from Farmers Weekly. The title of Maize Growers Face Prospect of Untreated Seed Next Year. So maize growers could face the 2024 growing season without treated seed if the government fails to register pesticides in time for deliveries due to the new regulations following Brexit. All UK sown maize seed is treated and packed by breeders in Europe and then imported to the UK in seed bags. There are currently 3 seed treatments that can be applied to the maize on the continent, including for seed exported to the UK. The Bayer's fungicide, Redigo M, is applied to all imported maize seed except the organic to prevent seed rotting in the soil. Lingman's Krot, the 420 FS bird deterrent, is applied to at least 95% of imported seeds. And of course, Sindler's Force G SCC, CS, is used to control wireworms and also has some activity as a bird deterrent. So those are your 3 chemicals that are traditionally used as maize, and to, of course, make sure that you get a good crop. Because as we know full well, this is sort of modern agriculture. This is the type of stuff you do. If you use this, guess what? You get a big bumper crop. But what's going on? What could this, obviously, the consequences happen here? So the Maize Growers Association understands that the license for Cory or Corit is currently being reviewed in Europe, and it is not known whether it will be extended. And of course, since Brexit, any active substance must be included in the statutory GB pesticides approval register before it can be authorized for use in any plant production product in the UK. The license for all 3 seed treatments for use in the UK are due to expire on the 1st of January 2024. And as it stands, none of these 3 seed treatments have been added to the register by the Chemicals Regulation Division, which is responsible for the regulation of pesticides in the country. So basically, because they haven't approved the use of these chemicals, you are looking at farmers that could get this seed, and then under the regulations, if it's not approved, well, you can't use that seed. And by the way, this isn't something new. We have heard this from every single regulatory body because, as we know, the Tories do not like regulation. So all these regulatory bodies that used to exist as part of, like, when we're in Europe, got brought into sort of the UK governmental body and have basically been understaffed and underfunded to a point where they cannot do their jobs properly. It really does look like we are seeing, and this is not just the Chemicals Regulation Division we're seeing here. It's things like the UK's own medicine approval body, which you may remember we covered a few weeks ago. It's the exact same thing. Because they are underfunding and understaffing these regulatory bodies, you are seeing big problems like this. Of you could have farmers with this seed being unable to plant it because if they did, because it's not that chemical that has been used to treat the seed is not being approved, guess what? You can't plant it, it can't be authorized, can't be sold. So, Peter Lawyer, an agronomist from Marlborough, Wiltshire, said that maize growers will be ordering their seed next February at the latest for the 2024 growing season. I cannot see how the CDR will be able to register these 3 seed dressings in time for the maize drilling next April. The only way you could do it would to get a change in the law or a deregulation. Otherwise, the drilling drilling this treated seed would probably be illegal. NUF Dairy Board Chairman Michael Oates told the NUF Council meeting on Tuesday, the 25th of April, that the union was pushing the government to try and extend the rights for farmers to use treated seed until at least 2024. Mr. Oakes had previously said and had previously tried growing maize using the untreated seed, and the birds had just decimated this crop. This is again why you use these chemicals. Because if you don't, well, as you see, decimated his crop when he didn't use these. And of course, there are consequences, which he's going to talk about here. So if maize is not available or becomes unprofitable, or it is not worth growing, it will have a big effect on the profitability in the dairy sector, he added. So just because farmers can't grow this crop, this creates even more problems in the dairy sector because they can't grow enough feed to be able to feed those animals, which means they now have to import more maize, which of course raises the demand. You can just see the government has no idea, no idea what it is doing when it comes to this type of crop, or at least not only this crop, but farmers in general. They have no idea about agriculture. And bear in mind, I don't have any idea about agriculture as well. But if I was a government minister, I'd be at least going to the NUF, getting someone who is an expert and making sure that they were advising me, saying, oh, hey, by the way, there's this problem. You know, you need to approve, you need to tell the CDF to get a move on and approve these chemicals. Otherwise, there's going to be a big problem. And certainly, if I was a government minister, or at least in charge of agriculture, or DEFRA in this case, I'd be like, okay, guys, let's make sure that all these regulatory bodies are fully funded and fully staffed, so that they can do their job to make sure that these get funded, to make sure, sorry, that these chemicals like this get approved, and of course, that farmers can start growing their crops, because otherwise, we could see a big disaster in dairy farms closing down because they're already under a lot of pressure because of the cost of living crisis and the energy crisis as well. It's not good. It's really not good. But yeah, and you wonder why. You wonder why farmers are turning away from the Tories in their droves. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.